I am a fool with a heart, but no brains, and you are a fool with brains, but no heart. And we're both unhappy, and we both suffer. Beauty is a fearful and terrible thing. Fearful because it is undefinable, and it cannot be defined, because here, God gave us only riddles. Here the shores converge. Here all contradictions live together. There is no salvation for a man unless he chooses freely to obey the laws of his nature. A quiet, secluded life in the country, with the possibility of being useful to people to whom it is easy to do good, and who are not accustomed to have it done to them. Then work which one hopes may be of some use. Then rest, nature, books, music, love for one's neighbor. Such is my idea of happiness. The greatest griefs are those we cause ourselves. The greatest strength is the strength to admit weakness. Man is tormented by no greater anxiety than to find someone quickly to whom he can hand over that great gift of freedom with which the ill-fated creature is born. It's not that I don't love you, my treasures. God, how I love you, but I'm afraid of my love. I wanted to become a saint, and so I set to work. I am doing my best to make up for my past, but I am afraid I am a greater sinner than ever. The soul is healed by being with children. Do not let us forget that all forms of life are impermanent manifestations of the creative spirit. A great man is a sceptic, a scorner, yet he is most loving. One can never understand too much. Believe me, that's true. Laughter is the foundation of reconciliation. It's always worthwhile speaking to a clever man. Not that anything clever comes out, but perhaps he himself will inadvertently let slip something interesting. But the opposite of a profound truth may well be another profound truth. I believe in miracles, but I trust in Jesus. Faith does not spring from miracles, but miracles from faith. If there is no God, everything is permitted. Man has it all in his hands, and it all slips through his fingers from sheer cowardice. The cleverest of all, in my opinion, is the man who calls himself a fool at least once a month. Love all God's creation, the whole of it, and every grain of sand in it. Love every leaf, every ray of God's light. Love the animals, love the plants, love everything. If you love everything, you will perceive the divine mystery in things. Once you perceive it, you will begin to comprehend it better every day. And you will come at last to love the whole world with an all-embracing love. To go wrong in one's own way is better than to go right in someone else's. Man, so long as he remains free, has no more constant and agonizing anxiety than to find as quickly as possible someone to worship. The chief thing is to love others like yourself. That's the chief thing. And that's everything. Nothing else is wanted. You will find out at once how to arrange it all. And yet, it's an old truth which has been told and retold a billion times, but it has not formed part of our lives. The consciousness of life is higher than life. The knowledge of the laws of happiness is higher than happiness. That is what one must contend against. And I shall, if only everyone wants it, it can be arranged at once. A fool with a heart and no sense is just as unhappy as a fool with sense. There is something at the bottom of every new human thought, every thought of genius, or even every earnest thought that springs up in any brain, which can never be communicated to others. Even if one were to write volumes about it, and were explaining one's idea for 35 years, there's something left which cannot be induced to emerge from your brain, and remains with you forever. And with it, you will die, without communicating to anyone perhaps the most important of your ideas. You are told a lot about your education, but some beautiful, sacred memory, preserved since childhood, is perhaps the best education of all. If a man carries many such memories into life with him, he is saved for the rest of his days. And even if only one good memory is left in our hearts, it may also be the instrument of our salvation one day. We sometimes encounter people, even perfect strangers, who begin to interest us at first sight. Somehow, suddenly, all at once, before a word has been spoken, Do not let us forget that all forms of life are impermanent manifestations of the creative spirit. The man who has a conscience suffers whilst acknowledging his sin. That is his punishment as well as prison. Beauty will save the world. Love all of God's creation, both the whole of it and every grain of sand. Love every leaf, every ray of God's light. Love the animals, love the plants, love everything. If you love everything, you will perceive the divine mystery in things. Once you perceive it, you will begin to comprehend it better every day. And you will come at last to love the whole world with an all-embracing love. The greatest happiness you can have is knowing that you do not necessarily require happiness. If someone proved to me that Christ is outside the truth, and that in reality, the truth were outside of Christ, then I should prefer to remain with Christ rather than with the truth. Man only likes to count his troubles, but he does not count his joys. In man's heart, there is a bit of a devil, a bit of a saint, a bit of a monkey, and a bit of a lamb. The darker the night, the brighter the stars, the deeper the grief, the closer is God. What is hell? I maintain that it is the suffering of being unable to love. Sometimes it takes a great deal of time to discover that you've been very foolish. The soul is healed by being with children.
Hey, amazing viewers! If you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing, hitting the follow button, and giving it a thumbs up. Your support means a lot and helps us create more awesome content. Feel free to share your thoughts below. Thanks for being a part of this journey.
Faith does not, in the realist, spring from the miracle, but the miracle from faith. Man is tormented by no greater anxiety than to find someone quickly to whom he can hand over that great gift of freedom with which the ill-fated creature is born. It is better to be unhappy and know the worst than to be happy in a fool's paradise. Taking a new step, uttering a new word, is what people fear most. The more I love humanity in general, the less I love man in particular. I'm ready to be a scoundrel and a clever one, but I won't be a miser. I won't love money and won't heap up money. I'll give you all the land, and what's more, give you complete power over everything. And you can let me go where you want, or kill me, if that's what you want. To love someone means to see them as God intended them. Man is a mystery. It needs to be unraveled, and if you spend your whole life unraveling it, don't say that you've wasted time. I am studying that mystery because I want to be a human being. An unfortunate issue should not spoil a happy marriage. Do you know, Prince? Do you know that stupid people are the only ones worth knowing? After all, there are things which a man is afraid to tell even to himself, and every decent man has a number of such things stored away in his mind. It's not the brain that thinks, it's the eye. To live without hope is to cease to live. Man is a mystery. If you spend your entire life trying to puzzle it out, then do not say that you have wasted your time. The victim ought to have the right to hate the murderer. One can know a man from his laugh, and if you like a man's laugh, before you know anything of him, you may confidently say that he is a good man. Man grows used to everything, the scoundrel. The greatest griefs are those we cause ourselves. People speak sometimes about the bestial cruelty of man, but that is terribly unjust and offensive to beasts. No animal could ever be so cruel as a man, so artfully, so artistically cruel. I want to live for immortality, and I will accept no compromise. I can tell you, honest friend, what to believe. Believe life. It teaches better than books, more effectively than philosophy. The world is always open to novelties. I think that the unusual thing which we rarely find is a thoroughly healthy man. Life is a gift, and it offers us the privilege, opportunity, and responsibility to give something back by becoming more. The one thing I regret is that I shall have to give up this bit of land, my garden. But I will give it up. I'll make my bow and retire. It's hard to love a woman and do anything. I believe in God, and I'll fight to the end to defend the idea that God exists. There is no salvation for a man unless he chooses freely to obey the laws of his nature. Happiness does not lie in happiness, but in the achievement of it. There is nothing more seductive for man than the freedom of his conscience, but there is nothing more tormenting either. Power is given only to those who dare to lower themselves and pick it up. Only one thing matters, one thing: to be able to dare. Forgive others not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. Only to live and live. Life, whatever it may be. I've been told that you can't get anywhere in the world without money. Well, we'll just see whether that's true or not. Be not forgetful of prayer. Every time you pray, if your prayer is sincere, there will be new feeling and new meaning in it, which will give you fresh courage, and you will understand that prayer is an education. Sometimes one likes foolish people for their folly, better than wise people for their wisdom. The mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for. To love is to suffer, and there can be no love otherwise. We can know only that we know nothing, and that is the highest degree of human wisdom. The more I hated him, the more I loved him. I could not forget him. These quotes continue to capture the depth and richness of the themes explored in The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky, touching on matters of faith, morality, human nature, and the quest for meaning in life. Man, so long as he remains free, has no more constant and agonizing anxiety than to find as quickly as possible someone to whom he can hand over that great gift of freedom with which the ill-fated creature is born. There is no sin, and there can be no sin on all the earth, which the Lord will not forgive to the truly repentant. Man cannot commit a sin so great as to exhaust the infinite love of God. Can there be a sin which could exceed the love of God? The cleverest of all, in my opinion, is the man who calls himself a fool at least once a month. A man who has a clear conscience suffers whilst acknowledging his sin. That is his punishment as well as prison. In times of suffering, the strongest souls emerge. The most massive characters are seared with scars. Sometimes it takes a good fall to really know where you stand. You may be deceived if you trust too much, but you will live in torment unless you trust enough. The less you respond to negative people, the more peaceful your life will become. It is better to be hated for what you are than to be loved for what you are not. To love and be loved is to feel the sun from both sides. Sometimes the most important thing in a whole day is the rest we take between two deep breaths. What a strange illusion it is to suppose that beauty is goodness. A man's vanity tells him what is honor, man's conscience what is justice. A quiet, secluded life in the country, with the possibility of being useful to people to whom it is easy to do good, and who are not accustomed to have it done to them. Then work which one hopes may be of some use. Then rest, nature, books, music, love for one's neighbor. Such is my idea of happiness. The more I love humanity in general, the less I love man in particular. The greatest challenge in life is discovering who you are. The second greatest is being happy with what you find. Patience is the key to paradise. Forgive others not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. The greatest test of courage on earth is to bear defeat without losing heart. To love someone means to see them as God intended them. Man is sometimes extraordinarily passionately in love with suffering. If you want to be respected by others, the great thing is to respect yourself. Only by that, only by self-respect, will you compel others to respect you. The world says, you have need satisfy them. You have as much right as the rich and the mighty. Don't hesitate to satisfy your needs. Indeed, expand your needs and demand more. This is the worldly doctrine of today, and they believe that this is freedom. The result for the rich is isolation and suicide, for the poor, and murder. It is not the brain that thinks, it is the eye. Man is fond of counting his troubles, but he does not count his joys. If he counted them up as he ought to, he would see that every lot has enough happiness provided for it.